The bright neon light flickered irregularly as the prison guard entered the door through the metal door. "It's time, Jonas." His voice was neutral, almost mechanical. Jonas Martin slowly raised his head. His hands were in heavy iron, his face drawn, from 5 years in the death cell. But there was no fear in his eyes, only a quiet, unshakable longing. "I have one last request," he said quietly. "Let me see my dog. Rex." The guard hesitated. Protocol was protocol. Last wishes were often times. A conversation with the family, but a dog, "I will ask," he murmured and left the room. Jonas closed his eyes. In front of his inner eye, he saw Rex, his faithful shepherd dog, the only friend who had remained after his arrest. He remembered the nights in which he had rescued Rex from the animal shelter, how the dog had pulled him out of a dark phase of his life. "Just one more time," he whispered. "Just one more time, I want to see him." Outside, in a small suburban house, a telephone rang. Elena Frey, a young vet with tired eyes and frayed hair, picked up. "Yes?" "Mrs. Frey, this is Prison Director Weber speaking. It's about Jonas Martin. He made one last wish. It concerns the dog you are taking care of." Elena got up. Her heart raced. "Rex. Oh yes. He wants to see him before Weber whispers. Before it's over." Elena pressed her lips together. She knew that Jonas was innocent. She had received letters from him in recent years, had read his unwavering conviction that the truth would come to light at some point. She had believed in him. But now was no more time. "I'll bring him," she said determinedly. But when she called into the living room, it remained silent. "Rex?" No answer. The front door was locked, but the window to the veranda was open. On the floor, a torn piece of the leash. Panic caught Elena. Rex was gone. She grabbed her cell phone and chose a number that she hadn't called for a long time. "Maximilian, I need your help. It's about Jonas. And about Rex." At the other end, there was a moment of silence. Then a deep voice answered, "I'm on my way." The minutes clicked. Elena searched the entire house, opened cupboards, saw nothing under the sofa. Rex was gone without a trace. She ran out onto the veranda. Her gaze flew through the dark garden. The cool night air carried the distant howling of a dog. But was it Rex? Just as she wanted to get in the car, a black BMW with squeaking tires stopped in front of her house. Maximilian jumped out, tall, broad-shouldered, his face covered in scars, telling stories that he never gave for free. "What happened?" he asked, his eyes sharp as a predator. "Rex is gone," said Elena. "I don't know how the window stood open. His leash is torn. Someone took him with them, Max, and Jonas has no time left." Maximilian fled quietly, pulled out his cell phone and chose a number. "Volk, we have a problem. A dog was kidnapped." "No, not just any dog, Jonas' dog. Find out who's behind it." While Maximilian spoke, Elena remembered the evening before. "Wasn't there a black van that slowly rolled past your house? Did you imagine that? Or was that the answer?" "I saw a car yesterday," she murmured. "A dark van drove past my house twice, 3 times. I thought I was paranoid, but now—" Maximilian nodded. "Then we know where we have to start. Get in." An hour later, somewhere in town, Rex grinned at the chain that was fastened to his neck. He growled quietly. His ears twitched at every sound. The warehouse was dark. The only light came from a single, flickering neon tube on the ceiling. A man in a suit leaned against a box and watched him with a self-confident smile. "Beautiful dog," he said, and enjoyed his cigarette. Too bad he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Another man, haggard, and with ice-cold eyes, came out of the shadows. The order was to calm him down, not to hurt him, not yet. The suit-wearer twitched with his shoulders. "It depends on what our friend Jonas will do next." Rex called angrily and tried to get rid of it. He knew that something was wrong, that Jonas needed him, and he would fight until he could, return to him. Jonas sat on his porch. His gaze rested on the small, gaping light that fell through the barred window. In a few hours, it was time. The door to his cell opened. The waiter entered. Behind him, the prison director. "We have a problem," said the director with a serious face. "Your dog has disappeared." Jonas's heart stopped beating. What? Someone kidnapped him just before he was to be brought here. Jonas's hands began to itch. His last wish, the only thing that had carried him through the last 5 years, had been taken from him. But who? And why? The BMW raced through the empty streets while Maximilian chose another number. "We have a lead," he said on the phone. "Camp at the port. We need reinforcements." Elena crawled into her seat. She knew that she was running out of time, and if they didn't find Rex, Jonas would die without ever seeing him again, and that was not to happen. The dogs lay in the twilight of the morning. Misty swathes moved around between the abandoned warehouses. The water clapped quietly against the quay walls while a seagull croaked somewhere in the distance. But for Elena and Maximilian, this was nothing more than background noise. Maximilian parked the BMW in a dark alley, grabbed under his seat, and pulled out a gun. "Stay in the car," he ordered. Elena winked at him. "Forget it. That's my dog in there." Maximilian looked at her for a moment, then he sighed. "Then stay close to me, and if it gets burning, run." With dampened steps, they sneaked up on the warehouse. Maximilian pushed himself against the wall, later through a dirty window pane. Shadows moved inside. 2 men, one in a suit, the other with a hood pulled deep into the face. And in the middle, Rex hanged, gnawing, and with eyes that flashed in anger. "You have no idea who you are dealing with," whispered Maximilian. Elena bit her fist. "Then let us show you." Jonas couldn't breathe when he ran up and down in his cell. He didn't know what was happening outside, but he knew one thing. No one wanted him to see Rex again. The question was it just a sadistic game? Or was there more to it? The prison director was still standing at the door. "We're trying to get information," he said, "but I can't promise you anything." Jonas looked him in the eyes. "Please," he said in a loud voice. "I don't have much time left." The director sighed. "We're doing what we can," but Jonas knew that wasn't enough. Maximilian hid behind a pile of wooden pallets and counted quietly. 2 guards, but maybe even more in the shadows. Elena grabbed a rusty iron pipe that was lying on the floor. "Then we shouldn't waste any time." Maximilian grinned. "I like your attitude." With a flowing movement, he threw a small stone against the metal wall of the warehouse. The noise echoed loudly through the room. The men inside were twitching around. "What was that? No idea. Go and see." The man with the hood pulled a weapon and sneaked to the door. The moment he stepped out, Maximilian grabbed him from behind, tore the gun out of his hand, and punched him against the wall with full force. The man said together, unconsciously. "Not bad," Elena muttered, impressed. Rex called out inside. He had heard her, but the man in the suit had also reacted. He drew a gun, pointed it at Rex. "No step further, or the dog dies." Elena held her breath, but Maximilian just laughed quietly. "You have no idea who you're dealing with, do you?" He pointed his head behind the man. And before the guy could react, Rex jumped at him with an angry growl despite the shackles. A guard hurried towards the cell in a hurry. "Jonas, there is news." Jonas turned around. His heart was racing. "Come with me, immediately." Rex sprang up. His shackles were still tingling at his feet, but that didn't stop him. With a powerful jump, he hit the man in the suit to the ground. The gun flew flapping over the concrete floor. "Rex, back," called Elena, but the dog didn't hear. He gnawed, his teeth deeply when he bent over the man. Maximilian stepped forward and pulled the gun out of range. "I wouldn't move in your place," he said coldly. The man blinked and raised his hands. "You have no idea what you're getting yourself into," he moaned. Maximilian drew his own gun and pointed it at the man. "Then, explain it to us." Elena knelt down to Rex, stroking him comfortably on the back. "It's over, boy. We'll bring you back to Jonas." But just at that moment, they heard the squeaking of car tires outside, then the clattering of car doors. Voices. "Reinforcements," moaned Maximilian. "We have to get out of here." Elena took a look out the back door. This way. Maximilian grabbed the man by the collar and pulled him on his legs. You're coming with me. Maybe Jonas can ask you a few questions. Rex still moaned, but when Elena stayed by his side, he followed her without resistance. They ran through the warehouse, Maximilian in front, Elena and Rex behind. In the background, they heard other men entering the building. "You're gone," shouted a voice. Then there were shots. Jonas sat in the transport car, his wrists still in handcuffs. The prison director sat next to him with a serious face. "I don't know exactly what's going on out there," he said, "but apparently someone has found their dog." "Jonas," heartbeat. "Where is he? Is he safe?" "We'll get you there," the director replied. Jonas leaned back and closed his eyes. He didn't know whether to be happy or afraid. What if that was a trap? But he knew one thing: if Rex was alive, there was still hope. Maximilian dragged the prisoner into the BMW. Elena jumped on the passenger seat. Rex climbed on the back seat. The first bullets hit the body when Maximilian started the engine. He called down, stepped on the gas pedal. The car shot out of the side street, raced through the narrow alleys of the Port District. In the rearview mirror, they saw the pursuers, 2 black SUVs, hunting recklessly through the streets. "This is getting tight," Maximilian growled. Elena turned around, looked at Rex. The dog had stabilized, his eyes flashed determinedly. "We have to detain them," she said, "or we have a problem." Maximilian only raised his eyebrows. "Then hold on tight." With a brutal whine, the BMW crashed into the main road and directly into a red traffic light. Maximilian cracked his teeth as the red traffic light came closer. Cars crashed across the intersection. No space, no escape. "Hold on tight," he growled, and tore around the steering wheel. The tires squeaked when the BMW shot into a narrow side street, so narrow that the rearview mirrors almost crossed the walls. Behind them, the 2 SUVs crashed into each other. A dull splash, a sparkling glass. "This is going to slow you down," Maximilian growled. Elena breathed heavily, turned around to Rex, who was sitting on the back seat, upright, attentive, ready. The man in the suit they had taken with them whined quietly. "Let me out." Maximilian looked at him in the rearview mirror. "No chance, you're coming with me to Jonas." The man became pale. "This is madness, you have no idea who you're messing with." Elena bent over. "Then clear us up." But the man pressed his lips together. "Fagling," Maximilian growled. "Then Jonas gets the answers out of you." He stepped on the gas. Jonas felt how the vehicle slowed down. Through the small glass windows he saw that they were not at the prison. "Where are we?" he asked. The prison director next to him grumbled. "We had to improvise. There are new developments." Jonas's stomach shrank. Was it a trap? The doors opened. 2 words whistled out of him. Then he heard it, a deep, excited rumbling. Jonas's heart beat faster. Rex. Suddenly, a shadow jumped at him. A strong, fuzzy body against him. Warm, familiar breaths on his skin. Jonas sank on his knees, felt the wet nose on his cheek, the desperate licking, the wagging tail, the trembling. Rex's voice broke. 5 years. 5 years without him. And now he was here. But then Jonas looked up and saw Elena, Maximilian, and the man in the suit. His eyes narrowed. "Who is that?" "Elena appears. One of those who did not want you to see Rex." Jonas slowly got up. His gaze was hard, his shoulders tense. "Then he should better explain to me why." The man in the suit was fastened to a chair. Jonas stood in front of him, his hands clasped. "Start talking." The man hesitated. Then he laughed, quietly. "You think you have won? You have no idea what you have just started." Jonas's gaze was ice cold. "Then explain it to me." "It's not just about you," said the man. "It's about much more." Maximilian pulled a gun out of his belt, slowly unsealed it. "I have patience, but not much." The man swallowed. "You think that was just a game?" "Your dog shouldn't be kidnapped, Jonas. He should disappear." Elena rubbed her forehead. "Why?" The man smiled. "Because he knows something. Or better said, because he carries something." Jonas's stomach pulled together. "Rex," he whispered. He slowly kneeled down to his dog. Rex put his head down as if he felt that his master was looking for something. Jonas rubbed his fingers over the thick fur until he felt something hard, something that was hidden under the neckband. His hands trembled as he pulled it out. A small USB stick. Jonas looked at the man in the suit. "What's on it?" The man smiled. "The truth." Jonas stared at the small USB stick in his hand. He had been in a cell for 5 years. He had hoped for justice for 5 years. And now the truth was in his fingers. Elena took a worried look at Maximilian. "We have to know what's on it." Maximilian nodded. "I know a place where we can check that for sure." But first he pointed his gun at the man in the suit. He talked. The prisoner leaned back and sighed. "You have already seen me through. I am just a messenger. You have come across something that is bigger than you think." Jonas's patience was exhausted. "Tell us what's on this stick or you will regret." "Duriwani," the man smiled. "Bank transfers, secret deals, names of people who did everything to see you die. You are not just innocent, Jonas. You are the only obstacle for people who would have lost millions if you stayed alive." Jonas's jaw muscles stretched. He always knew it, he was just a sinner. "Who is behind it?" asked Elena with a cold voice. The man remained silent. Maximilian looted the gun. Last chance. A short moment of silence, then a shot. But it wasn't Maximilian. Outside, behind the window, a mouthfire flashed. The man in the suit opened his eyes, then he said dead forward. "Damn," called Maximilian and pulled Jonas and Elena to the ground. Another bullet hit the wall. Someone wanted to make sure that the prisoner never spoke again. "We have to go," called Elena. Maximilian grabbed the USB stick from Jonas's hand and ran to the back door. Rex followed them silently, his ears pointed. Tires creaked outside. A black SUV raced up. "Those are the same people from before," shouted Elena. Maximilian threw himself behind a garbage container. "Then let's do it quickly." He pulled his gun and fired back. Jonas ran to the driver's side of the BMW with Elena, while Rex took his seat on the passenger seat. "As soon as we get out of there, we'll bring the thing to the public," called Elena. Jonas started the engine. "Then hold on." He stepped on the gas. 24 hours later, news broadcast live. In a shocking twist, revelations on an anonymously played USB stick provided evidence for a conspiracy, which not only cost an innocent man almost his life, but also involved high-ranking politicians and business leaders in an international corruption scandal. Jonas Martin, who was to be executed the day before, was officially released. Jonas looked at the screen in an anonymous hotel room. Maximilian stood next to him with his arms crossed. Elena stroked Rex's head while the dog lay next to her, satisfied. "We did it," she murmured. Jonas took a deep breath. 5 years in the dark, 5 years of pain, but now he had his life back. He bent over to Rex. "You saved me, boy." Rex wagged his tail. Jonas's gaze became harsh. "But those who planned this, they are still out there." Maximilian smiled. "Then we should take care of them." Jonas nodded slowly. It wasn't over yet.